Hello and welcome to the ID Talk podcast. My name is Alex Perala. I am here this week with my wonderful colleague, Dave Barclay. Hello, Dave.
Hello, Alex. I'm really happy to be here.
And we're really excited about the conversation we're going to have today because we're speaking with the CEO of Fime, Lionel Grosclaude. Lionel, welcome.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Dave. Very happy to be here with you.
Yeah, we're really excited to talk with you. This is our first time meeting you, and although we've covered Fime for years on our platform, a lot of our listeners will already know, oh, they'll be pretty familiar with Fime and its work because, we got a lot of listeners who are in the biometrics industry, and Fime is obviously a really important testing services firm in that space. But but still, we'd really like to dig into kind of the nuts and bolts of some of the testing that you do and what that actually looks like. Before we get to all that, though, for anyone who isn't familiar, could you talk a little bit about what Fime is and what it does, and also your background and what brought you to Fime?
Okay, maybe I can start with my background.
Sure.
So actually, my first background was in the telecom industry. I started my career in the product management, working for Orange. At that time, I was in charge of the submarine cable for Orange, and it was for me pretty fascinating to understand that actually more than 90% of all, the internet communication and the data communication worldwide is not going through satellite, but is really under the sea.
Mm.
So this is where I started, and then I took over a company named HRV, where we were providing, communication and compliance solution for trading floor. So here you see nothing to do with either with payment nor with e-identity.
Mhm.
But then I was lucky enough, to meet a few guys, and they were looking for a new CEO just to re-energize Fime, to give him a new start. And this is how I joined Fime back in 2017. So at that time, to be honest, payment was only for me my payment card. So I didn't know nothing about payment, which on one side was a bit of a challenge, but also it was nice, to bring some fresh eyes to film. We say in French that it is when you are outside of your comfort zone that you are making a lot of progress. I can tell you that I've made a lot of progresses.
Mhm.
Uh, but so far, I mean, it's been a very exciting journey, and I think that even though maybe your listener know Fime, Fime has changed quite a lot over the last 5 years, and we have accelerated these changes over the last 18 months. So yeah, Fime is well known for its testing capabilities. We did because we have basically 14 labs in the world. At the beginning, we were mainly doing some compliance testing to test, interoperability, user experience, and security and biometry. We moved also from a pure compliance to QA, and then I was thinking that actually I had a lot of expertise in this company that could go beyond testing, and actually that could help our customer, to develop their solution.
Mm.
So, and this is how we have created our consulting division.
Mhm.
And we have we are recently reinforced this consulting division through the acquisition of Consult Hyperion, which is quite well known, in the payment and e-identity market.
Mhm.
And also we have three main business. One is consulting, so mainly around technology, and we help basically our customer, could be bank, could be vendors, could be fintech, central bank schemes, to develop and to launch payment identity solution. We have another line of business in charge of developing testing tool. And because when you do testing, you need also to try to automate as much as you can the testing. And the last service that we offer is testing services where, we've got a team of about 500 engineers, doing testing in 20 different countries. So this is what is Fime. The company is present in 26 now countries. We are working with all the players of the payment ecosystem. Whatever, again, you are a bank, a fintech, a central bank, scheme, international scheme or domestic scheme. More recently, through the acquisition of Concept Hyperion, but also the electronic transaction division of UL, we broke into e-identity. So now we have this, I would say, this end-to-end offering, starting with consulting to help customer, to invent their solution, to develop their solution, and ending with testing, where we make sure that those solutions are interoperable, secure, and provide the right level of privacy. So what is important to understand is we are active in consulting and in testing, but we don't provide solution per se. We remain always neutral. So when we advise X or Y technology, it's just because we believe this is the right choice, not because this is our own technology.
Okay. So the consulting and the testing are part of the same journey, and then there's kind of the solutions part in the middle that's kind of up to the company based on your consulting.
Absolutely. And the challenge with the company developing whatever it is, e-identity or payment solution, it is becoming more and more complex. So we have to navigate through this complexity. The complexity could be linked to technology. So now with a blockchain, with a different type of payment, card payments, CBDCs, account to account, it could be linked also to regulatory constraint. So we operate globally, and regulation varies a lot from one region or even from one country to another. It could be also linked to user experience. Your expectation is different than mine, and might be also different from a Japanese or from an Australian customer. So the fact that we work with all the players of the ecosystem and that we do it globally, position us in a very nice way, to support our customer in making sure that their solution is really spot on, hit the market, works, and be successful.
There's a lot of parallels I'm picking up between kind of Fime's journey and also our journey at ID Tech, especially like getting more into digital ID and more into, we don't do consulting, but we've got very interested in recent years in the various standards that have come into play because they affect the whole industry. So I really want to get into that, but before we do, I do want to know a little bit about testing, like the actual biometric testing, because this is just something that I haven't really got to talk to someone like you yet, who knows in detail how this works. So what is that like? Like, is it literally your engineers are in a lab scanning their fingerprints over and over, or like putting on rubber masks, or like what is it?
Yeah, I'm imagining like a crash test dummies kind of situation.
Well, before I answer your question, I just want to say that testing sometimes is perceived, I would say, as necessary evil, something you have to do, but you don't want to. Whereas actually, testing is absolutely mandatory. If you want your solution to be successful, if you want your solution to be adopted, it has to be trusted. Trusted in a way that it has to work. Trusted in a way that it is secure. Trusted in a way that it is respecting my privacy. And to achieve that, there is a few things that you have to do. You have to develop following some standard. We were mentioning some of them. And then you have to make sure that you are testing your solution properly against those standards. So instead of being, I would say, a hurdle, a challenge, I think that at the end of the day, testing, allows innovation.
Hmm.
Allows innovation because when you release your solution, you know that this is going to work. And this is when I joined Fime, I had to work a bit about this. I think this is one of the things I brought to this company. When I joined Fime, some of my team were considering that their job was to test and say whether the test was pass or fail.
Hmm.
Whereas actually, our job is to test, is to say whether the test is pass or fail, but also to help our customer to support them until they reach the path. This is really the value we are bringing. We are not only a machine saying it's red or green. We are helping our customer to really be successful.
Hmm.
So coming back on your question, we have a team of, you have two teams doing some biometric testing. One based in France, the other one based in Taiwan. And those guys, their job is they are basically kind of, I would say, ethical hackers. They are testing that the biometric system, whatever it is on a card or on a phone, is robust enough, to prevent fraud.
Hmm.
So what the guys are, and it is interesting because at the beginning it was really manual. We were creating, some masks with paper, so it was quite interesting. But now more with the technology has evolved. We are now able, to create some synthetic facial.
Hmm.
So we can create, because the challenge when you do biometry, one of the challenge actually is how do you collect data?
Hmm.
Because if you want to properly test a biometric system, you need, a substantial amount of data. And you need also that the data to be diverse enough. So you need, young people, old people, men, women, all, the citizenship. And it's very hard, to do this type of collection. So that now with synthetic database, what we are able to do, we have some seeds, so real face. And from those seeds, we are able to create much wider database
Hmm.
that will help us, to test really end to end all the biometric system. Again, whatever it is fingerprint, whatever it is voice, or whatever it is facial.
Hmm.
So those guys are, I would say, for me, are really expert in what in what they are doing, and they are doing the testing. But sometimes they are also on the consulting side, helping customer, to develop their system.
Hmm.
Voilà. And there is, to be honest, there is no, from my experience, there is no perfect biometric system.
Right.
It's just like, when you have a door, you can always break into the car or into the houses.
Hmm.
The question is, what is the amount of effort you want to put to break that door?
Mm.
So you can always break a system. So you need to make sure that the robustness of the system is consistent actually with the final application. So
Hmm.
that's another thing that we have to measure is not really how to break it, but how easy it is to break it.
Hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I
Lionel,
like.
you were talking, sorry, Alex. You're talking about how there kind of was a mentality of like pass versus fail
Yeah.
for the testing, and then kind of the better way to think of it is maybe like fail on a test is like an opportunity to innovate and develop it more. Is there
Yep.
an
Yep.
example you can think of where it seemed like it was a disaster and things failed, where it turned into a new innovation?
Alors, I can't quote the innovation, but I can tell you that in the biometry, we last year, and we for a very well-known brand, we were testing their biometry system, and actually one of my engineer went, I would say, a step forward. He was not supposed to do this test, but he tried,
Hmm.
and until he did it, the system was passed everywhere.
Hmm.
But then he found, a way to break the system, something which was not anticipated by the vendor. And actually, the vendor was quite happy with that
Hmm.
because we have done it, but the hacker a fraudster could have done it as well. So thanks, to this guy, which was, I would say, imaginative enough, to invent a new test and a new way to try to penetrate the system. I mean, we help, this very well-known brand to improve their facial recognition system.
Mhm. I love that. And it's similar to like any kind of product that somebody is putting out. You want to know if there's a problem with it, if you're really
Yeah.
like serious about it, and it's the same with us, as publishers. We want people to tell us, did we get something wrong? Like we don't want to be publishing something that is wrong and then not have the
Yeah.
opportunity to correct it later. It just helps us to get better. So I think that's great. And Dave, that's exactly like I was gonna pick up on that too. I love this idea that you're not just pass fail because it's like the difference between a good teacher and a bad teacher. We've all had bad teachers who were like, yeah,
Yes.
this is your grade, no explanation. And then a good teacher will say, here's how you can improve this. Here's some things to think
Uh,
about next time.
I really like the analogy because the good teacher, and this is exactly what we're doing, will tell you, this is how you could do better, and I can help you, but he's
Hmm.
not going to do it on your behalf.
Hmm. Yeah,
And this is
exactly.
exactly what we do. We don't develop the system, or otherwise we cannot be judge and party. But we say,
Hmm.
okay, here is a problem. Yes, there is different technologies that could help you to fix it. So
Hmm.
we give them, some advice, but then this is your job, to develop the proper solution. Exactly that the teacher will give you a clue, and then you will have to redo your exam.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's pretty clear then how that kind of work naturally leads into consulting. So,
Yeah.
I'm curious about how that looks now because we have so many digital ID systems coming into play and under development. And I know this is an area that
Mm.
you're consulting about quite a lot. And it's kind of like, from my perspective, a little bit of a Wild West, because you've got systems all over the world that are coming into play, and the law in many cases is
Yeah.
racing to catch up. So I'm just curious to learn, like, what's your perspective? You're kind of on the frontier. Uh, what is coming in terms of digital ID, and how are you helping the companies involved in that?
Yeah, but I think that what the first things that we worked on, it was mainly in Europe for the European Commission,
Mm,
was to define what you call the ARF, so the Architecture Reference Framework. So you have to define how this system is supposed to be working.
mhm,
So this was our first engagement in digital identity. Then you need to define the standard. So for e-identity, the 18013-5 or -7. There is also the standard around the OpenID Foundation. So we did help, to define the standard. Based on those standards, we are also defining some testing plan, to make sure that the solution, when they are developed, are consistent with the standard.
mm,
And once you have developed the testing plan, what we have done then is to develop the testing tool. And then you inject the testing plan into the testing tool, and you are able, to test a wallet, to test a rearing party, or to test, trust list. So
mhm,
this is what we have been doing, and we've done it for the EUDI project. We are
mhm,
also very active in the US. So I think that in the US, we are now close to 26 states that
mm,
have issued or on the verge of issuing MDL. We work quite actively also in Australia, in Japan. So yeah, it's popping up almost everywhere. E-identity is not something new, but basically now all the planets are aligning, whatever it is from a technology standpoint, sorry, or from a political standpoint, to really push this e-identity. And I think there is a few reasons for that. The world is going digital, and and e-identity is really a way to fight against fraud.
Hmm.
I was reading, a survey or a study saying that the cost of e-identity theft is about 50 billion every year.
Mhm.
So that's a massive challenge. That's one. The second thing is with AI. So AI is a very nice tool, but AI is also used by fraudster
Hmm.
to create, synthetic database, to create a deep fake. There is also another challenge that should be solved by e-identity is the fact that I think today people are oversharing data.
Hmm.
They are not really in control of what they are sharing. So just to give you an example linked to e-identity, when you are buying a bottle of wine, the merchant, the retailer, doesn't need to know what is your date of birth, where you're living, or your citizenship. All he needs to know that I am over 21 or I am over 18.
Hmm.
And e-identity is going, to provide the fact that you can really control the type of data, the type of credential you are sharing. So I think this is why e-identity is really popping up everywhere, and is very important. And maybe we can talk later about the parallel between payment and e-identity, because there is a lot of similarities between between the two market. There is also a lot of difference, significant difference between the two, and there is some overlap between payment and e-identity.
Mhm. On that note, I remember whenever like 15, 20 years ago, or whenever was that, like tap started happening with payments,
Yep.
instead of like putting your
Yep.
card in and putting the number. I was very skeptical personally in my life, because I was like, how can I? This doesn't seem safe. If I just wave my card around, all
Yeah.
this money's going to fly out of it. If I have this capability to just tap things and transfer money that way, it seems scary. Are people kind of skeptical about EIDs, just like ordinary people, like ordinary dum-dums like me? And is
No, I would say there is billions of people like you.
yeah.
It is a whole story about adoption. How do you make this type of solution adopted um, by the mass market? Um, and again, for a solution to be adopted, you need to trust this solution. Alors,
Hmm.
trust is a very wide concept. Huh? Uh, the first thing that the first challenge faced by e-identity, but it's also, by the way, it would be faced also by the CBDC, the crypto money,
Hmm.
is I would say it's a big brother uh, concept. If I use an electronic identity, am I going to be tracked by the government?
Hmm.
Whereas if I use my paper driver license, nobody will know. So that's one thing. So this is very important, to create infrastructure with where you can minimize the number of information of the data that is shared. Maybe also something more decentralized. There is not one single entity in control of all the data. So I think that the privacy concept will be key to adoption. The
Hmm.
second item, which is key, is of course security, because um, and here you can draw a parallel with payment. Security is absolutely key in payment as well. But if you lose, or if someone is stealing your credit card number, this is a pain. But this is not the end of the world. If
Mhm.
someone is stealing your identity, that's a different story. Because you are able to learn much more when you are stealing the identity of someone, where he lives, how old is he, citizenship. You learn much more from stealing this type of data than stealing payment data. So security will be absolutely key. The third item that will make the adoption real is interoperability. when you are tapping your phone, you want to make sure that it works at the shop A, but is also going to work at the shop B. Because if you tap, it doesn't work, you're going to do it once, you're going to do it twice, the third time you won't do it, you won't use it. Interoperability is a key challenge in e-identity, and I will come back maybe later on this point. And the last point is user experience. Because if you have a solution which provides a good level of privacy, secure, interoperable, but is providing no value, why would you use it? So the UX is key. And here you can take an example between payment and e-identity. Again, if you want to buy a bottle of wine, you tap. The tap is going to check first that you are over 18 or over 21. And if so, it will trigger payment, which will be much convenient than taking out your mobile or your passport, showing it to the merchant, and then tapping to buy your bottle of wine. So that the three, for me, the four areas: privacy, security, interoperability, and user experience that will drive the adoption. Having said that, as you rightly said, actually, the tap payment is not recent, and it took quite a while to be adopted. And then I think here, COVID did play a massive role because nobody wanted to touch something, so no contact. So the contactless payment really took off after COVID. Now the way of buying, is in our day-to-day behavior. So I think that it will be the same for e-identity. But again, it will take some time. I don't expect e-identity to be adopted overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And e-identity, coming back on the user experience. So today there is at least two things that are missing. The acceptance network. Again, you want to make sure that if you can use your MBA to buy a bottle of wine, it works everywhere. So you need to grow the acceptance network. Just like when you are doing a contactless payment, you expect every merchant now to accept contactless payment. It is not we are far from being in this situation in e-identity, and I think that the payment network can help. Payment terminal is already in a shop. We can imagine a situation where the payment terminal could be also an e-identity reader. And the second thing that we have to work on is advertise, communicate on the number of use case. Okay, age verification is one use case, but KYC when you want to open a bank account is another use case. Customer authentication when you are buying online is a third use case. So we need to communicate, I would say, to the people everything that will be allowed thanks to digital ID. So you see, it was a long answer to your question, but it shows that the journey to the adoption will be quite long.
Mm-hmm. I think it makes a lot of sense what you're saying, and I think probably Dave and I both agree that these factors like convenience and interoperability, user experience, like that will for sure help to just drive adoption. Just like with contactless, it's so easy. It became so easy to do it. But I am curious. I always kind of dig into this political tension that I see sometimes, and I'm just curious to know what you think. Here, we're in Canada, so we're sort of in between Europe and America in attitudes, I would say. In America, what I see is there's more of a focus on like mobile driver's license, mobile ID, and they're not connecting it to payments. And then in Europe, it's like the wallet. It's a digital wallet. And there's a sort of like inherent understanding that it has your ID and it will have a payment capability. And I think that it probably is a result of more trust in the government in Europe that there's not so much suspicion because I heard just the other day not heard. I saw online just the other day, someone was grumbling in America saying, "Oh, they're going to make us show ID when we buy things," talking about digital payments. And I
Yeah,
have a soft spot for the conspiracy theorists, so I'm always like willing to hear them out. But um, I'm way more sympathetic to you that, the convenience it
yeah,
makes security makes sense. Like I trust my government for the most part, so.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But what do you think will overcome that hurdle? Or do you even agree with my analysis of that situation?
Yeah, actually, I do. I do. First of all, I think there is always a link uh, between convenience and privacy.
Mhm,
The more data you are okay to give away, usually the more convenience you receive.
mhm,
And if you want to share no data, the level of convenience will be minimal. Now, the difference between EU and the US, there are a few. EU is more regulation driven. Okay, it will be imposed by the European Commission that by the end of 26, every European citizen will have to get access to a wallet, the EID wallet. In the US, it's more market driven.
mhm,
Okay, so there is no mandate which is imposing, state, to release MDL. The US market is also pretty much fragmented because the decisions are at the state level. So not all the states but have issued MDL, whereas in Europe it will be rules defined by the European Commission. All the member states will have to issue an UDI wallet. Coming back to privacy, yes, maybe I don't know if Europeans have more trust in their government, or maybe they're more naive. I don't know. Uh, but again, I think that whatever you are in the US or in Europe, if you want adoption, I mean, government would have to show that the e-identity services is coming with the right level of privacy.
mhm,
If not, the adoption will be much lower than expected. And maybe we can draw also another parallel with payment. We talk a lot in payment about cashless society. I don't think we're going to go to a cashless society. I think we're going to go definitively to a less cash society.
mhm,
In identity, will be the same. I don't think that your passport, your physical passport, is going to disappear. I
mhm,
don't think so. One of the reasons is linked to sovereignty. I'm not sure it's really entering the border. So the fact that within the US you can fly with your MDL is fine because it's within the US, same country.
yeah,
The fact that within EU you can fly with your EU DI passport, that's fine, same country. But the time government will accept, you know, uh, people entering Europe with an electronic passport is not yet there. So there's still a lot. I think we are maybe 5 to 10 years away from a full digital identity. We're going to keep our passport for quite a bit of time.
mhm,
So it's two different markets, as you say. Canada is maybe in between. Um, I don't know whether there is a good or a bad approach. From my personal standpoint, I think that EID, if it's well managed, again, if the privacy is there, if the security is there, can bring a lot. And actually, the advantage are way bigger than the drawback of this type of solution. Uh, this is actually what Fime is really working on this notion of privacy. How can we ensure security, biometrics testing, interoperability testing. I think that once the e-identity will be there, this is going to generate new innovation. Again, parallel with payment, you were talking about, the contactless. The technology is NFC technology, thanks to contactless. So we have the wallet, we have the wearable. When you go to take the subway in more and more city, you have open loop system. You can use contactless your payment card to travel, and e-identity will also bring this set of new innovation. And this is how I think the market will take off, thanks to innovation more than because it is mandated.
Mhm. I think it's a good prediction, and you're probably one of the people who's best positioned to actually make a prediction about where this is going. So you're probably right. So maybe like before, I know we're kind of running a little bit out of time, but maybe on that note, we can look a little further into the future because I'm just curious. Earlier
Yep.
in this discussion, you did mention blockchain.
Yep.
I heard you mention CBDC. Where do you see that fitting into the EID picture in the near future, far future? Like how do you think blockchain tech fits in, or does it not, or will it never be like a big part of it?
Alors, on the CBDC, CBDC, there is a massive difference between Europe and US. That's two very different approach. I think that the US market is more stablecoin oriented, whereas Europe is seeing CBDC as a way to propose an alternative to the stablecoin. But whatever stablecoin or CBDC, you're gonna need to authenticate people. So you're gonna need one way or the other to link, this crypto money network with an e-identity network. Whatever the underlying technology is centralized, is blockchain. I'm not sure this has a massive impact on the e-identity. It's a different type of technology. The blockchain has many advantages. Again, the fact that it is decentralized should provide more trust because there is not one single point where all the data are shared and controlled.
Mhm.
But I don't think that again this is going, to the fact is blockchain is going to slow down or to accelerate e-identity.
Okay, I think that's a very measured and fair prediction. Um,
We talked about the future. I just wanted to touch on like kind of the history and maybe the payment EID links one more time. Is there any like examples of like something rolling out in the past in payments or in EID that went particularly well and was adopted really fast, or was kind of botched and people learned a lot from kind of we were talking about kind of the fail that's an innovation opportunity before, like on, kind of in a general level, like a country's unrolled something that didn't go well and everyone
Um,
learned a lot from that.
um, I think something that on payment, there is this account to account payment, because when you look to account to account, um, when you look what India have been doing, they are now managing close to 20 billion of transaction every month. Massive success also in Brazil,
Mm.
and I think that US, Europe, sorry, are really looking at what is happening in Brazil and India to try to replicate the success of account to account. Even though the ecosystem the market, in Brazil and India is by definition very different than the US or Canada ecosystem or the European ecosystem. I think that India and Brazil have leverage on account-to-account services, to increase financial inclusion, which is not really an issue in the US and Canada or in Europe. So account to account has been a clear success in those countries. It will come as well by definition in the US. So you have now the FedNow services. You've got what they call EPI Wero in Europe. So this is going to take off. And again, I think that US and Europe are really learning from what did happen in India and Brazil. Something I like to mention as well, because it's quite important I think to mention. One of the difference between e-identity and payment is the scheme. In payment, you've got large payment scheme like Visa or MasterCard. And those guys, they basically have two roles. So they are linking, the different participants of the ecosystem. So they've got this massive network. But also, they are defining the governance, the rules, the standards, the penalties, the fraud management of the ecosystem. And the fact that we have global players like Visa and MasterCard allows to have interoperability everywhere in the world. In e-identity, we don't have today this type of player. We don't have, the Visa of e-identity or the MasterCard of e-identity. E-identity is really a sovereign challenge. It's usually managed at the country level or in the US at state level. And it's going to be it is going to be a challenge, to create this scheme able, to harmonize the way the e-identity solution are developed and making sure that the MDL passport issue in New York is going to work in Paris, in London, or in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So is that a key difference? Today, there is, as far as I know, there is no real, initiative of that kind, to create a global scheme. But this is something which will be missing if we really want e-identity to become not only a country services, but something really global.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I mean, if we ever do get a Visa or MasterCard of EID that's global, I'm sure it sounds like Fime is going to end up being an important player in how that comes about. So maybe that's a good note to end on. But it's a fascinating space to be working in, and Fime's work is really interesting in particular. So thank you for taking the time to talk with us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
thank you.
Great to meet you.
Nice to
meet you, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye, Lionel.
Thanks.